In this video, we explore utilitarianism. Utilitarianism is one of the most influential ethical theories in Western philosophy. It teaches that the morality of an action depends on its consequence. According to utilitarian thinker, an action is morally right if it produces the greatest happiness or benefit for the greatest number of people. This theory focuses on human welfare, pleasure, and the reduction of suffering. Utilitarianism became especially important during the modern period because it tried to make ethics practical, rational, and socially useful. Principle of utility. The foundation of utilitarianism is the principle of utility. This principle states that actions are good when they promote happiness and bad when they produce pain or suffering. Happiness is considered the ultimate goal of morality. The principle judges action not by intention, tradition, or authority, but by their result. If an action increases pleasure and reduces pain for many people, it is morally justified. Utilitarianism believes that every person's happiness has equal value. Moral decisions should aim at maximum overall welfare. Society should promote action that create the greatest benefit. This principle became the central idea in the philosophies of Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill. Problem of sanction and justification of morality. One important question is utilitarianism is why should people act morally? Utilitarian thinker answered this through the idea of sanction. Sanctions are motivate or force that encourage moral behavior. External sanction. External sanctions come from outside the individual. These include fear of punishment, desire for social approval, legal consequence, religious reward or punishment. People often behave morally because society praises good action and condemns harmful one. Internal sanction. Internal sanction arise from within the person. This include conscience, feeling of guilt, sympathy for others, sense of duty towards humanity. John Stuart Mill believed internal sanctions are stronger than external ones because moral feelings become part of a person's character. Justification of morality. Utilitarianism justifies morality by connecting it with human happiness. Moral rules are valuable because they protect welfare, peace, and cooperation in society. Truthfulness, justice, and kindness are encouraged because they generally produce beneficial consequences for individuals and communities. Kind of utilitarianism. Over time, philosophers developed different forms of utilitarianism. Act utilitarianism. Act utilitarianism judges each individual action separately. An action is right if it creates the greatest happiness in that specific situation. For example, telling a lie may be considered moral if it is prevent great harm and increase overall happiness. Rule utilitarianism. Rule utilitarianism focus on general moral rules rather than isolated act. According to this view, society should follow rules that usually produce the greatest good. Rules such as honesty, justice, and respect for life are important because following them generally benefits society in the long run. Hedonistic utilitarianism. This form identified pleasure as the highest good. Bentham strongly supports this view and believed pleasure and pain can measure morality. Ideal utilitarianism. Ideal utilitarianism expands the idea of good beyond pleasure. Thinkers argue that values like knowledge, friendship, beauty, and virtue are also important for human welfare. Moral theory of Jeremy Bentham. Jeremy Bentham developed classical utilitarianism in a systematic form. He believed nature has placed humanity under control of two masters, pleasure and pain. Therefore, morality should aim to maximize pleasure and minimize suffering. Bentham theory is known as a quantitative utilitarianism because he believed all pleasures are equally in quality and different only in quantity or intensity. Bentham introduced the hedonic calculus to measure pleasure scientifically. He suggests that pleasure can be judged according to intensity, duration, certainty, nearness, fecundity, purity, extent. According to Bentham, lawmaker and individual should use this method to calculate the moral values of action. Bentham moral theory importance are made ethic practical and social, support legal and political reform, emphasize equality and public welfare. Criticism of this theory are reduce morality only to pleasure, ignores moral intention and justice, treat higher and lower pleasure as equal. John Stuart Mill refined Bentham theory and answered many criticisms. Mill agreed that happiness is the goal of morality, but he argued that pleasure differ in quality as well as quantity. Mill distinguished pleasure, higher pleasure and lower pleasure. Higher pleasure are intellectual, moral and artistic pleasure. Lower pleasure are bodily and sensual pleasure. He famously argued that it is better to be a human being dissatisfied than a pig satisfied. This means intellectual and moral pleasure are superior to mere physical enjoyment. Internal sanction. Mill strongly emphasized conscious and moral feeling as the basis of ethical behavior. He believed human beings naturally develop sympathy and social unity, liberty and individuality. Mill also connected utilitarianism with freedom. He believed individual liberty is necessary for human happiness and social progress. Mill's moral theory importance are it's improved utilitarianism by recognizing quality of pleasure. It defends individual right and freedom. It balances social welfare with moral development. And its criticism are it's difficult to measure higher and lower pleasure. Sometimes conflict arises between liberty and collective happiness. Moral theory of Henry Sidgwick. Henry Sidgwick further developed utilitarian ethics in a more philosophical and analytical way. His major work, The Method of Ethics, examined different approaches to morality. Sidgwick tried to reconcile egoism, institutionalism, and utilitarianism. Universal happiness. Sidgwick argued that morality should aim at universal happiness rather than selfish interest. Every person's welfare should be considered equally. Unlike Bentham emphasized on pleasure calculation, Sidgwick focused more on rational reflection. He believed reason guides us towards impartial concern for all individuals. Sidgwick recognized a conflict between self-interest and universal morality. Sometimes personal happiness and social good do not agree, create a moral dilemma. This theory importance are gave utilitarianism a deeper philosophical foundation, connect ethics with rational analysis, influence modern moral philosophy. Importance of Sidgwick moral theory. It gave utilitarianism a deeper philosophical foundation, connect ethics with rational analysis, influence modern moral philosophy. Its criticism are could not fully solve the conflict between egoism and universal morality. His theory became highly abstract and complex. In conclusion, utilitarianism transformed ethical philosophy by making consequence and human welfare central to morality. From Bentham's calculation of pleasure to Mill's distinguish between higher and lower pleasure and Sidgwick's rational analysis of ethics, utilitarianism evolved into a powerful moral tradition. Despite criticism, it continued to influence law, politics, economics, and modern discussion about justice, right, and public welfare. The theory remains important because it encourages people to think about how action affects the happiness and well-being of society as a whole.
If you are still watching, I hope you are finding this content useful. Please like and share this video, subscribe to the channel and share your thought in the comment. Your support motivates me to create even more content like this.